Welcome to the KISC My Health Radio show series on Building Fortunes Radio. KISC My Health is brought to you by the universally recognized Cranberry King, Captain Cranman, Stephen Lukawski. Over the past 30 years, Stephen has worked with North American dietary supplement companies in the nutraceutical industry. His efforts and connections generate ingredient sales through innovative delivery systems and effective marketing and brand management strategies. Today on KISC My Health, Stephen is joined by guest host Peter Mingils. Make sure you check out previous KISC My Health episodes at www.buildingfortunesradio.com or KISCMyHealth.com. Along with our marketing partners, we are here to help our customers improve their health, build their businesses, and make the world a better place. At KISC My Health, we know how much your health and your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell another friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now, on to our show with your hosts, Captain Cranman and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to our KISC My Health Radio show. My name, again, is Peter Mingils. We are here with Captain Cranman, Stephen Lukawski, and I know we have a bunch of new listeners. Every time we have a new guest, we have their center of influence as far as being here as new people as well. So I'm going to tell the short story of how this whole thing got started. A long time ago, I was looking to have a platform where we could pass around microphones to people that had something interesting to say. And one of the first people that I interviewed and set up a radio show series with was Jim Turner. He was an attorney over in Washington, D.C. He was super duper smart and knowledgeable. Started working with Citizens for Health back, I think, in 1993, was one of the almost original founders. It was an original Ralph Nader Raider, for those people who are familiar with him, and overall just a wealth of knowledge and experience. We did about a decade's worth of radio shows until, January 22, where he passed away. And I was devastated, and there was a hole in my heart and in the radio show because Jim was such a great mentor. Well, I begged the people over at Citizens to please find me a place for a replacement, and eventually it took them over a year to find me James Gormley. James Gormley became the president of Citizens for Health. He was a very well-known publisher, overall really super-duper good guy, and we started our radio shows in January of 2024. After a few months of regular radio shows, he asked me if he could have a guest, and that's where Stephen Lukawski came in. I said, sure, of course, James, you can have a guest. And, who's your guest? He said, it's going to be the King of Cranberries. I'm like, okay, can I have another clue? Captain Cranman. I'm like, this sounds better. This sounds kind of exciting. It's Stephen Lukawski. I said, I've never heard of Stephen Lukawski before. And for the people that are outside of this industry, you may not have either. And they said, well, he's got a great LinkedIn. So I went and joined his LinkedIn. And we did a cool radio show. And since I didn't know who Stephen was, I did a lot of listening as we did this, and it was about an hour and a half long. It was really cool. I joined his LinkedIn, like I mentioned. Through the rest of the year, I started seeing posts from Stephen and seeing his overall really super-duper good guy. And then suddenly, in August of 2024, James Gormley passed away. I called Stephen, which I thought was the right thing to do, and said, Stephen, did you hear? He said, yes. He was working with James at that moment, and we decided to do a memorial radio show. In the process of doing that radio show or talking about doing that, I said something about our KISC principle. We're writing a book, which I haven't written yet. KISC is the Keep It Simple Circle. And Stephen jumped on top of that, and he says, you know what we're going to do, Peter? I said, what's that, Stephen? He said, we're going to do not only a memorial for James Gormley, but I know a lot of other people in the industry that need to be known. They are the pace setters, if you will. They're the trend makers. These are the people that made things happen, and they're still alive, and we have to do some interviews. So I said, okay. And he says, we're going to call it KISC My Health. That's KISC My Health. Okay, Stephen. KISC for me stands for Keep It Simple Circle. What does KISC for you stand for? He said, in the Stephen enthusiastic way, it's going to stand for Key Influencers, Super Champions. And if anybody's ever seen Stephen in his Captain Cranman, you get it. So I said, this is kind of cool. Let's do it. Well, we're into well over 100 personal interviews with the guests that Stephen has brought in. You can find them on KISCMyHealth.com. That's KISC myhealth.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to hear them. I want to say thank you to anybody that's been our corporate sponsors. We have several of them since we started. And certainly everyone that's an active and a passive listener. passive listeners just listen and they enjoy, I hope. Active listeners share with other people. Hopefully you're one of those if you're listening in. And I certainly want to say thank you to all of the people that helped make this possible, especially Stephen Lukawski. Captain Cranman from Planet Cranberry, and he's going to get into that as we get started as well. But Stephen puts countless hours into this, and he's a good guy. Everybody knows as he's been around the trade shows and on the phone and everywhere else. So, Stephen, thanks for being here on your own radio show on the KISC My Health radio station.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you to our listeners out there, because this is going to be another amazing interview that we have on KISC My Health. And, I want to thank our corporate sponsors who've been there. We've had, again, this is a not-for-profit show, so we rely on our sponsors, all right, to help us out. And a little bit here and there goes a long way, because the people that we're interviewing, they are difference makers. They're history makers. They're transformational leaders that have, with servant leadership styles, and they are giving their time back and at no cost, and they're wanting to educate and provide guidance and advice to the younger generations. So our corporate sponsors, that we had, from the past, we always continue to celebrate their involvement, but particularly Heather Wainer and the Charlie's Angels over there at Whole Foods Magazine. They've been with us right from the day one of the show. And supporting us each week on LinkedIn. They do posts for us and introducing our guests, and we just thank them so much for that. Pure Brands, which is our current sponsor on organic sweeteners, we thank a shout out to them for their contribution. RFI Ingredients in the past, they've done a great job, and continue to support them and what they've been doing. And of course, we have Joe Bradley and Step Change Innovation Team over there. That Joe Bradley is a good friend, and he's one of those pioneers in the probiotic space that's moved on to celebrate a new company that he's part owner of now, and doing very well. And so again, this show is not for corporations to promote them. It's not for the products and the services. It's for the people behind the scenes that I think are inspirational, that come on to our show, that are really the North Stars of our industry. It's natural product industry, or just they're great human beings. They're giving hearts. They have that mentality of serving others, putting the needs of others first before their own. They are just, for me, I'm a better person for knowing everybody that I've interviewed. But Peter, I also want to reach out to you and thank you and the team there, for a teamwork effort, because nothing really happens without a team behind it. And all the work you've done weekly for the last 2 years since James has passed away, and the Michael McGuffins of the world, the Stephen Fosters. If I leave anybody out, it's just because there's just so many to mention, but you're not forgotten. And we really, truly want to celebrate the lives of those who moved on, but at the same time, take that torch and light up the natural product industry with their accomplishments, and also the ones that, before they move on into other areas or career paths or whatever they decide to do, I want to celebrate their life story. And so today's guest is no exception. And a 25-year veteran plus, been in the dietary supplement industry, and it's like we've crossed paths at trade shows. This is the first time I actually get a chance to speak to this wonderful person that this contributed so much to our natural product industry. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to KISC My Health Radio show, Max Willis. Welcome to the show, Max.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. It's good to be here with you and Peter.
Well, no, thank you for finding the time here, and I know, Max, you've moved on now to this year. I think you're becoming now the executive VP over at innovation and the global expansion at Growve. So congratulations on your new move to that position. And For those who don't know who Max Willis is and why he's on the show, well, first of all, he's a tremendous human being to begin with, right? And Max was born in Italy to a family of doctors and pharmacists. He was exposed early to medicine, but focused his career on natural and integrative medicine. Max has been in the industry for 26 years of dietary supplement experience, having created thousands of products for the largest brands in the industry. Max served as a Chief R&D Officer at a Nutraceutical Corp, now known as Better Being, where he's worked for 25-plus years. For most of his tenure, he oversaw Solaray, one of the largest brands sold in health food stores and pharmacies globally. Max has lectured around the world on vitamins, minerals, herbs, and specialty supplements. His particular interest is in the microbiome, bioidentical hormones, and also how to use natural and herbal medicine with alternative to prescription drugs. He currently serves, as I mentioned earlier on, with the Executive VP over Innovation and Global Expansion at Growve, a $500 million dietary supplement aggregator. So Max lives in Utah. He loves to ski in the winter and run, hike, and go on walks in the summer. What a beautiful place to live in Utah. So job well done, Max, and I know your best years are still ahead of you.
We only hope that's true, but no, thank you for that intro, and it's great to be here with you.
And thank you so much. Now, before we do in the deep dive of Max's journey as he shares his success story and career with us, let's go for a quick break over to Pure Organics, the organic sweetener company.
Here we go.
KISC My Health Radio welcomes our corporate sponsor, Pure Organic. What if reducing sugar didn't mean giving up the foods and drinks you love? That's the philosophy behind Pure, spelled P-Y-U-R-E, at pureorganic.com. Pure believes that if healthier food doesn't taste great, people simply won't stick with it. So they've created a full line of plant-based, organic, and organically sweetened sugar alternatives designed to deliver the sweetness you love without the sugar overload. From granulated sweeteners and liquid syrups to their powerful single-ingredient stevia extract, Pure makes it easy to sweeten your coffee, upgrade your recipes, and enjoy better choices without sacrificing flavor. And Pure is not just helping consumers at home. They also work behind the scenes with food, beverage, and supplement companies nationwide, helping brands reduce sugar while maintaining the taste, texture, and experience customers expect. With decades of expertise in food science and formulation, Pure is helping reshape the future of sweetness. Want to learn more about Pure? See their full line of products, discover their story, and explore what makes them different at pureorganic.com. That's P-Y-U-R-E organic.com. Visit pureorganic.com today and taste the future of sweetening. At KISC My Health Radio, we want to thank Pure for being our corporate sponsor. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
Perfect. So, Stephen Lukawski, let's kick it off.
So thank you, Peter. And I just want to reach out and thank you to our listeners today for tuning in and listening to KISC Health Radio. Another great episode, another great interview. We've done over 100 interviews, and what a way to celebrate the next 100 with Max Willis joining us today. Again, Max, welcome to the show, and let's take it. Like, how long have you lived in Utah for?
Oh, probably 30 years of my life plus. Like you said, I was born in Italy. My father was going to medical school at the time. My mom was teaching pharmacology at the University of Rome. And they then moved to New York, where he did his residency in family practice. He actually operated on Billy Joel as one of his crazy adventures. He was brought into the Glen Cove Hospital. I probably shouldn't talk about this. It's like a protected thing. But anyway, it's a fun story. And then he moved the family to Utah when I was 10, 11 years old, and I've lived here mostly ever since.
Okay, so, all right, so you're born in Italy. What part of Italy were you born in?
In Rome.
In Rome, of all places. And how often do you go back to Italy?
every year I go back. I was just there after Vita Foods Barcelona. I did a few tours of Europe for business, and then I ended up in Rome to just spend the weekend and reconnect with family.
Wow. Let me ask you this much. Is it as beautiful as they say it is? Or much more?
It's amazing. It's crowded and hot in the summer, but if you can go in April or early May or maybe in the fall, it's spectacular. And it's just caput mundi, as they say in Latin. It's the capital of the world, and it's a beautiful mesh of culture and history and art and food, and it's just a delight for all the senses.
Yeah, I've been to Italy once, in Bologna, of all places, and I fell in love, with the culture. It's just the people, the food, just the lifestyle, and let's talk a little bit about Italy, your childhood, and is there any fond memories when you think back to you want to recall and share with us?
Well, I first have to say, Stephen, Bologna was home to the oldest university in the Western world, which was founded in 1088 AD, and that really revolutionized the history of medicine. So there's a lot of really cool history in Bologna for the education side of things. But Rome, it was a fascinating place. I was very young. I don't remember a lot about my early childhood there, although my first language was Italian. And then we moved to New York, and I had to learn English, and I started, kindergarten and first grade there. But going back to Italy and connecting with family is just amazing. And, it was very different than how kids in Utah are raised, in a very, protected, conservative environment here. A beautiful place, Utah, of course. We have recreation, but Rome and Italy in general, you have a place where people from all over the world aggregate, and I had many friends with different backgrounds, and so it really opened my mind to diverse people and ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm. And is there something we can learn from that, what you've experienced, like here in the United States, on that culture, that way of thinking?
Yeah, it's funny because I had Italian grandparents and American grandparents, and very different. My Italian grandparents would there's a very different proximity and affection in Italy. You kiss on the cheek even with people when you meet them first time. There's, you talk to people much closer. So I was all over my grandparents. I thought that was normal. And then I'd come back to the States and I'd want to hug my American grandparents, and they'd think I was a little weird. Like, get this kid off me. What's wrong with him? But the Italian culture and way of life, and let's just say Mediterranean in general, and we know one of the blue zones where people live well into their hundreds is in Sardinia, Italy, where people eat healthy, organic food. There's no such thing as GMOs or artificial colors and flavors allowed. People socialize. They go to piazzas and they eat their gelato and they talk to one another, whether it's politics or soccer or whatever the latest subject is in the news. But just that connection really helps people with their longevity, right? We focus on longevity and we want to live a long life, but how do we live those years? Are we healthy? Are we happy? Are we connected? Or are we isolated? And Italy showed me that, and you look at Italy now, a lot of the population is aging. Most of the times have one or two kids. And so old people, let's say, rule the world in Italy. The nonnas and the windows, they're the ones that command things. But there's something about what they've done, and they're very mobile, and they're healthy. So, yeah.
So it's interesting you mentioned, did you say longevity, right, versus
yes.
Longevity?
LIFE, lifegevity, yes.
Yeah. Honestly, I have never heard of that word used in our industry. And I think that's fascinating. You look at longevity is the word that we talk about today, how to live longer and healthier. But lifegevity, that's sort of like a great saying for learning to live every day and enjoying each moment in time, right? What does lifegevity mean to you?
I live by famous Italian sayings that come from old Roman, poets and emperors. And there's one that says, it's better to die living than to live dying. I could say it in Italian because it rhymes. But when you think about that, how are you living? Are you living mobile and active and clear in mind? Or are you just surviving and you're not happy and you're not emotionally well or you're not physically well? So, it's so important to have a long, healthy, happy life. And that's up to us. We have the power to choose how we live. And that's why this industry has fascinated me for so long, because teaches us how we can have longevity, despite, in this country at least, with the standard American diet that certainly does not promote that. We have to break away from that and make better decisions.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, maybe you want to tune in here, but remember we were just talking before the show to ourselves about the Walmart scenario. You want to share that?
Sure. There was I shop at Walmart because they have the in-home delivery. And when I went on the website recently, I saw that they were promoting telemedicine and services. And there was about 50 companies that they were recommending. And 50 might be a variable number, so give me a little flexibility on the accuracy of the number. But I couldn't stop noticing that the half of them were GLP counseling or GLP whatever advice and stuff along that line. I'm like, oh my gosh. So many people are using drugs to handle their weight loss problems where they really should be, paying attention maybe to health and nutrition and exercise and lifestyle changes and things along that line. So it looks like so many people, and now, especially now that vaccines aren't necessarily in flavor when it comes to advertising, when you listen to advertising on the television, lots of stuff with GLP and Wegovy and Ozempic and whatever other ones they have coming on, whether you have insurance, don't have insurance. So all of these, I'm going to say, unnatural alternatives towards weight loss and blood pressure or, blood sugar management and all that sort of stuff. So, Stephen, it's just an observation that looks like it's taken over.
Well, and Max, what I was just thinking and why tying that in is because I just think that there's a lot of people with the attitude of preventative, being proactive, right, and not waiting for a problem, but to live life in a healthy way, right? To watch, they don't eat until they need to solve the problem, right? They don't put their body out of shape until and then look for a lot of. I just find a lot of people in Europe, maybe it's, if I can say that, just are moving forward ahead of us. A certain way of staying more proactive at a younger age and eating healthier and the lifestyle's healthier. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. In fact, today I'm going to have lunch with Dr. Pamela Peak. She was the head of my science board at Nutraceutical or Better Being Co. for many years. And she's world famous. She's a doctor, and she's authored many books on this subject, like Fit for Life, and she's the one that helped Kirstie Alley lose all of her weight when she was advising her at Jenny Craig. But Dr. Peak taught me recently that by 2030, more than half of Americans are going to be clinically obese. So is it any wonder that GLP-1s are sought after? And what we train ourselves to think in this country is our doctors have all the answers. So many people go to their doctor and they want an easy, quick solution to living healthy. Well, doctors have zero training in nutrition and preventative medicine. They're in the business of making money on sick people. And so it's the wrong source. It's like going to the dentist to have cardiovascular advice, right? No. So, but Dr. Peak gets it, and she worked at the NIH, and she helped fund a lot, or drive a lot of the studies on this very subject. So 2030, more than half are going to be obese. And it doesn't take a genius. If you travel to Italy or Europe or anywhere in the world, you fly back to the United States, you forget how sickening we are. And I'm sorry, I don't want to, quote, fat shame anyone, because we need to be sensitive and helpful, but we also have to be honest about where we are as a country. And so what are we going to do about it? And it's exactly what you just said, eating right, making many little simple decisions every day to stay on the right track rather than waiting until the plane is about to crash into a mountain. And then it's like, give me anything I can, an injection, whatever. But then the GLP-1s have all these side effects, as we're learning. So, yeah, people are lost and they need direction. And I'm very fortunate, like you, Stephen, to have worked in an industry where we have solutions, but they're not drugs. They're natural products. And what did the first doctor teach us? Let food be your medicine. So we go back to the food. That's critical.
Yeah. Now, does it start at home? Does it really start with respect to how our parents raised us and with good food on the table or no food at all at times? Can you go back to that childhood age and where, and the lifestyle back then? Where I'm going with this is, is how we are raised as children carried over to how we are today with our own bodies?
Yeah, I think absolutely. That's just in our formative years, we observe and we learn mostly by example. So if our parents are cooking at home and gather and promote healthy lifestyle, if they're active, then that's what we observe as children, and that's what we want to emulate. The extreme also is true. If your parents are very unhealthy, kids are also smart and they observe. It takes a village, right? And maybe the immediate parents aren't that way, but an uncle or a neighbor is, and we kind of try to pick up the best from what we observe, I think, as we grow up. But my mom was certainly one that, even though she was a pharmacologist, she was taught in Italy where the principles of active nutrition come from, and that's plants. They didn't teach synthetic. They did teach some of that, but they would lay out plants and say, okay, what's the active component in this root or leaf or flower? That was the old way of thinking. And now it's all promoted by drug companies and synthetic patented, copies of nature that are not the best for us. But yes, it always starts in the home, and that's where we need to educate our families. Yeah.
I've always looked at when I've traveled to the States, I can never eat what they served because the portion size was so huge. Have you noticed the portion size difference in Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, whether it's a Coca-Cola, which is a tiny can, or, some pasta on a dish, you compare what you get at Buca di Beppo on a dish compared to what you get in an Italian restaurant, and it's drastically different. But it's funny how the small portion, nutrient-dense food seems to satisfy and fill you better than the large portion, sometimes emptier calorie foods.
Yes.
And so quality over quantity for sure.
Yeah, I always thought that too. There's a lot of people think that the eyes can trick the stomach, right? The more they see on a plate, the more they feel that there's value there in what they're paying for. But I look at the quality of the food, which is so important, especially now today, with given the prices where they're at, with all the food being so expensive. I'd rather eat right, eat less, right, than to eat more of the wrong food.
Sorry, to that point, Stephen, I agree. My wife and I, we often just share dishes now when we go out to eat. We don't even order our own meals. We just order one meal, and we share it. And my rule of thumb is eat between 4 and 7 or 8 at the most. Don't starve yourself and get below 4 out of 10. You want to go in with an appetite, but then eat to a portion that satisfies you but doesn't stuff you. And you can usually get that with one meal for two people in this country.
Yeah. I've been raised, at home where we grazed. We didn't really, we had our, sit-down family meals, but, and yes, you couldn't leave the table until you ate your whole meal. You didn't want to waste any food back then. But we celebrated through smaller portions throughout the day. And rather than the big, heavy meals where everybody hits the couch after Thanksgiving dinner type of thing and falls asleep, right? Well, the women did the dishes back then, right? Like I'm just saying, it's everything has changed now, and where portion control side. I don't skip a breakfast today, but I do say this much, that I enjoy my cup of coffee in the morning. I enjoy waking up and trying to remember my body comes first, right? My body and my soul and my mind before I dip into my work schedule, and hit that reset button every morning. And because I don't want work getting the best of me. I don't want the stress and the world problems taking control of my mind and putting negative thoughts into it. I just find that people sometimes will eat emotionally, and without even tasting the food, and because their stomach, they put all their problems in their stomach. Maybe, I don't know, all their worries, and but I think as life coaches, we are life coaches indirectly. We are in this industry, and I truly believe that we're given a blessing to be able to go out there through your work, Max, and what you're doing today, that people trust your brand when they pick up your product, just like they did at Nutraceutical Corp, right? They believe in the quality that you have in that bottle, right? And I think they hold on to the words that you say through your labeling. And I think that, I'm hoping that we take the leadership seriously, because we're in a pandemic stage. You just mentioned about obesity. We haven't even talked about type 2 diabetes or diabetes in itself. We're pandemic situation there. People want to, look beautiful and live longer, yes, but, at the end of the day, we got a serious problem in front of us. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. You just look at the trends of what's happening, and like I mentioned, we might be living a little bit longer than in the past, and I think we're doing some things better in modern-day medicine to avoid, big problems and diseases. We're not dying of malaria from, insect bites like they were in the day, or, just crazy outbreaks and things like that. But we have to educate ourselves and sacrifice just a little bit every day to stay on the right path. It's like an airplane. If you keep on the right course, you're going to get to the right destination. If you go off course even 1 degree and stay off course, you could crash into a mountain within a few miles. And so what are we doing on a daily basis to consciously say, I'm going to stay on course with my health? And it's really not that hard to do a little planning, go shop, buy your food, cook your own food, try to buy organic whenever possible, and try to have fun with it. Make it a hobby. We see eating as kind of a, it is a necessity, but we're a go culture. What we value in America is, it's not longevity, it's accomplishing things, and food gets between us and work, and so we just eat to survive, right? Why not spend a little more time and cook healthy and have a clearer mind and a healthier body and be able to function better? But it does take a little bit of time and prep.
Well, how about take time to chew your food and enjoy what you have, right? And the people in front of you socially, that you're with, because I just see a lot of people, they dine and dash. They quickly eat and then they're out the restaurant, and it's like they're on to the next. Like it's not a pit stop where they enjoy the conversation and the lifestyle. It's more about, let's just get something in our stomach and get the heck out and get going again. And you're right. We live a fast pace out there. I think we do things to ourselves without thinking twice. We get into a routine, right? And or sometimes people get just stuck in a rut. They can't get out, Max. Some people just don't have that willpower to stay strong and determined to live a healthier life. I don't know. It's but I think what we're doing, we have meaning and purpose every day we wake up. I think we're gifted with the privilege of taking what we know and helping others. It's like, if your doctor's going to say to you, you're non-compliant, we could say the same thing to consumers. We could tell them as much as we have knowledge about. We could tell them what foods to eat, what supplements to take. But if they don't listen to us, then they are non-compliant. But at least we're out there as messengers, doing what we do best, right? And because I always say, when I leave this planet for the stairway to heaven, I know that I've done the best I can to educate people, right? And I know you feel the same way too. How important is that in this industry for us to carry that torch and help others along the way?
If we're going to be doing the right job in this industry, we have to be passionate and we have to care about what we're doing. I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of brands and people in this industry that are more interested in the business side of it. They're not the farmers like Mark Blumenthal teaches us. Are you farming or are you just reaping? And there is money to be made in the dietary supplement industry, but the real goal is it's not the money, it's the wellness of people. And if you focus on that and do the right thing, the money follows. And so that's always been my goal, is how can I offer products that have the best result for patients, for people. I was asked to go to Croatia recently and do a lecture in front of 300 doctors on how to use dietary supplements to help patients that are on medications to have better patient outcome, less side effects, better results. And, and I'm never the one that, coming from a family of doctors, I'm never one to talk down to any form of medicine. I think there's benefits of Western medicine, but we have to understand integrative medicine and more Eastern culture medicine, and it's available at our fingertips. Now with AI, we can educate ourselves really fast on alternative approaches before we take a drug and put it in our mouth. Before you take a statin to lower your cholesterol, why not try red yeast rice? Or what you're known for with your fun red jacket around the industry, Stephen, cranberries, the number one prescribed drug in a hospital. The number one prescribed medication in a hospital is an antibiotic because people are catheterized. They're on catheters and they're getting UTIs, so they have to keep that bacteria down. Well, there are places like the Mayo Clinic that have used cranberry supplements to, counter the bacteria and keep their urinary tract healthy. So it's out there. We just have to know about it and use it.
Yeah, I just find that, again, people wait for a urinary tract infection before they even identify the need for cranberry. I've been in this industry now, Max, this, you're the Cran Acton days, remember? All right, and Scott Forsberg. Remember Scott Forsberg?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, so for me, what I knew then, I only knew cranberry for UTI at that time. And I knew there was cranberry juice powder, and I knew there was cranberry whole fruit powder. But I only knew that cranberry was good for UTI because that's all I knew. But then when you do a deep dive and you find out, wow, this is not just for UTI. This is for everyday living. Why are people only waiting to treat the problem? Why don't they put the attitude on? Maybe I can go out there and prevent the problem, with a lifestyle change, and also, consuming, cranberry every day. And so that's been my mission and passion, is to get people to look at cranberry for everyone every day, and look at different applications beyond UTI, and it's an educational process. But the FDA's recognized cranberry, for a limited qualified health claim, and which is just spectacular, because you've got maybe a list of 15 products, and cranberry is now on that list, along with omega-3 and phosphatidylserine, and you go down the list on a few of them. But where I'm going with this is that I truly believe that the world of polyphenols, we only know what we know. The omega-3s, look at the omega-3 story. We only knew of the power of omega-3s, and same with probiotics when we started educating ourselves on that. And so I still think the world of berries have benefits beyond cranberry, and I just think it's up to people like myself to keep wearing that red jacket, red shoes, whatever, to get the message across that cranberry is a lifestyle decision. It's an ingredient, a lifestyle ingredient also, but if you don't want to help yourself, don't bother. Like, I brush my teeth with cranberry every day, right? And people go, what? Yeah, I do, because I did my research on cranberry and its benefits for oral care. And that powder, when it hits that toothbrush with the toothpaste and you brush away, it scrapes away the bad biofilm, which is a glue, which the bad bacteria holds on to. And it clings and grows, right? So when you wash it away, the bad biofilm with the cranberry, you don't have as much bacteria build up. But then again, I realize it's a natural mouthwash too, and it stops halitosis. And I talked to the dentist about this, and their only concern was, will it break down the enamel of their teeth? Right? And so you look at oral care as another, and then you look at the gut health on the side of things. That certain polyphenols act as prebiotics, and they are a food source for certain probiotic strains, and you got that symbiotic relationship. I didn't know anything about that until the world of probiotics came in. And so I think I love our industry where we keep learning. And we're a student of learning, and do we never stop? And maybe you can share that, how important that is with, your 25 plus years of experience, how important it is to continue to learn and educate yourself no matter how many years you've been in this business.
Exactly. Education is a lifelong process, and nothing is more important for me than my health. If I don't have good health, I can't take care of my kids, I can't take care of myself, my family. And so if I want to be self-reliant and strong and set a good example, I've got to take care of my health. And so educating myself on the basics of that is essential. And what we know in this country is, despite our best efforts to eat and do all the things we've been talking about, we still have dietary gaps and nutritional deficiencies. And so it's important to now understand, okay, what supplements might help fill those dietary gaps? What are the real necessities? And we could talk about cranberry all day long. I'm with you on that one. It's like the one superfood. You've seen a lot of these direct marketing and multi-level marketing companies come up with mangosteen and acai and all these awesome superfoods all over the world. Well, cranberry is, in my opinion, the best of all the superfoods because it has a known mechanism of action. And so we have to educate ourselves on what else is out there. What other deficiencies do I have that there's an easy answer for, whether through a supplement or modifying my diet a little bit more to get maybe a little more potassium, which is a big deficiency in this country, or magnesium. And then we can all of a sudden turn a corner and have better longevity. And there's so many other things we need to be thinking about. I always educate people on the core four dietary supplements. A lot of people come to me and say, Max, you've been formulating for all these years. You've created thousands of products. What should I do? Where do I start? Well, okay, do the basics, but then are you taking a multivitamin every day? No matter how healthy you think you are or whatever you're eating, you're probably not realizing you have some nutritional gaps. So a multivitamin helps cover those basics. An omega fatty-free, omega fatty acid, omega-3, helps lower your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, so you lower your inflammation, help your skin, your brain, your heart. Omega-3 is a daily necessity. I think a probiotic on a daily, if not regular basis, to help balance our microbiome. And then I'm a big fan, for me personally, of digestive enzymes, because we cook our food, and a lot of the food we eat is so highly processed that our body is having a hard time breaking it down. And for me, I was actually diagnosed with esophagitis. I had dysphagia, which is a condition where it was hard for me to swallow my food, and I didn't know why. I didn't have heartburn, but there was an inflammation process happening where my esophagus started to swell, and it was because of the type of foods I was eating, and I didn't have the right enzymes. So just by adding a couple supplements, I was able to not do what the doctor wanted me to do. The gastroenterologist wanted me to get on a proton pump inhibitor, and I avoided that by taking HCl and digestive enzymes, and I'm perfectly fine. So.
And there you go. You're proactive, learning about the benefits of enzymes. I take them too, and I wish they were less expensive, to be honest with you. They're so expensive. But they work. That's the bottom line. And it's so funny. Yesterday I went to see the doctor.
Well, is there anything, we had spoken before the radio show started about the MLM industry, and I know some of the companies in the MLM industry do really, dumb things. They're short-sighted or whatever, and they make income claims and health claims. But I do believe that the individuals in the MLM industry have been the great educators, just like you were talking about stuff over here. They may not be perfect educators, but they're really good educators as far as the awareness of the need for dietary supplements. And you were talking about mango stuff, and it seemed like any exotic fruit that fell off a tree somewhere had magical mystery cures, and somebody made an MLM industry out of it. But there has been a lot of really great education that's been spread through the people involved, although imperfect, through the MLM industry. Do you want to comment on any of that? And Stephen, I think you're back.
Yeah, I'm back, yeah.
So just to close
Max,
out,
anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Michael McGuffin, who you mentioned earlier, who recently passed away, he was the president of the American Herbal Products Association and a dear friend of ours. We bought one of his brands he started. Many people don't know this, but he launched a brand called Zand, Z-A-N-D, and to this day they sell zinc lozenges and products like that. But Michael McGuffin taught me that this dietary supplement industry was mostly founded by Mormons and hippies. Mormons, because most of these MLMs are based in Utah, and you have these Mormon missionaries that go all over the world, and I'll tell you what, there's nothing harder to sell than religion, okay? And so if you can talk to people about religion, which is hard to talk about, and it's an intangible, selling a product is a lot easier. So if you can get a product with a story and it has an understood benefit, these missionaries, former missionaries, are very effective at building these companies and telling a story. And these models work well, especially in some countries like Asia. But the MLMs have done a great job at spreading the word, at connecting with their own networks, and informing people on why you should maybe try this or that product and then see how you feel.
Yeah, some people have credited Herbalife. Yep, some people have credited Herbalife as being one of the greatest educators in the country of China, because they were there, they're still there, and they've spread the word, and a lot of people didn't really focus on nutrition. And through the education between them and other companies, there's a lot of people that are now more educated. And then they do what they do after that. They do their research, but this brings the awareness. So, Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, come from a parents, a family background of doctors and professionals, and did the natural product industry choose you, or did you choose the natural product industry for your career?
I chose it. I kind of stumbled upon the opportunity after getting my master's degree on this supplement industry. There was a company based in Park City, Utah, where I love to ski in the winter, and I love nutrition and being healthy. So it was just a natural fit for me. But when I entered it, I didn't know a lot about vitamins and minerals. I kind of started pre-med, like I think Peter mentioned, and my mother wished that I had become a doctor, like I think Peter also mentioned, and still to this day she says, "Oh, son, you would have been a great plastic surgeon," because I love art and I love, medicine, but it wasn't my path. This was my path, and it's a beautiful industry that gives people power to take control of their health, and and then once you help yourself, you can help other people, and that's really how the education happens, whether through the MLM or in a health food store. That's really the heartbeat of this industry. You can go into a Sprouts or your local health food store, natural grocers, a Whole Foods, and there's usually people there that can help guide you with good decisions on, hey, I have a lower back pain and I don't want to take pain meds. What do you got? And they can really help provide a solution.
Yeah, well, I was saying earlier on, like yesterday I had gone to get a physical, and just yearly checkup, and he just wanted to know what supplements. Remember you were saying what supplements you were taking, and I told him I'm taking an omega-3, and he goes, "Why? Why are you taking omega-3?" I'm thinking, what? Like, as a doctor, why are you taking omega-3? And I said, supplement, as the fatty acids, omega-3s and 6s, and he goes, you could not understand why I would take omega-3, and I thought, why are you my doctor? Right? Like, if you don't know about omega-3, like, he just didn't see a need for it. I'm thinking, wow, what some of these doctors are not going out there and educating themselves beyond the prescription medicines out there. Are you finding that still part of the problem out there? Doctors are not supporting the supplement industry?
Yeah, I would say there's many that are completely disengaged from nutrition and the real solutions to health. They just want to do what they're trained to do, and that's identify disease and push drugs. Because if you think about it also, my dad's an MD. He sees 30 to 50 patients a day. He's 80 years old almost. Well, I shouldn't say 80. He's 78. But he's still practicing because he loves his patients. But he's a little bit more of an enlightened doctor. Even though he sees a lot of patients, he calls me all the time and he says, "Hey, Max, this patient's asking me about lion's mane. What is this?" And we have a conversation. Or, "Hey, they don't want to take this antibiotic," or they are taking the antibiotic, but they're having, diarrhea. What probiotic do you recommend? Yeah. And we have these conversations. The problem is doctors can lose their medical license and their malpractice insurance does not cover them if they recommend something to a patient that's not in the standard care. So if you go outside of prescription drugs and you say, "Here, patient, take this omega-3, and they take it, and for some reason they get sick, probably not caused by the omega-3, but let's just say they get sick, and they sue the doctor, "Hey, you told me to take that supplement. I choked on it," or whatever. The doctor will lose his license because he is not allowed to recommend dietary supplements. Specifically, he can say, "Yeah, you've got a cold, go take a zinc lozenge, it'll help you." But they cannot specifically recommend a product outside of a drug, or they can lose their license. Yeah.
Well, there we go. All right. So there's politics and everything here. All right. So let's talk about, 25 years have gone by. Your best years are still ahead of you. You now have this wonderful position over at Growve. Can you let the industry know what you're doing there so people understand what your new role is?
You bet. So, I oversee R&D for several of the brands, and I run our global sales team to get more distribution of Growve products in different markets outside of the U.S. But Growve is a brand aggregator in the industry, kind of like Nutraceutical Corporation or Better Being is, where they go in and they buy these brands that were started by passionate founders, but maybe they get to the point where they don't know how to scale it to the next level, or they run into an issue with the FDA, or they get sued because they didn't know that they shouldn't have made this claim or that. So Growve is a very well-equipped company that manages multiple brands. We have 16 brands in our portfolio, and we're a high-growth company. A lot of the business is based on e-commerce, which is continuing to grow. Now, my friends in health food would say, why would you go there? That's the dark side. Yeah, I hear you. We also have business in health food stores, but we go wherever the customer is. And a lot of people are finding the convenience to order their supplements on Amazon or iHerb, and it gets shipped to their house. I was just in Dubai for the World Health Expo. They ship products within 15 minutes. If you forget something at the grocery store, you can go on an app, order a product, it might beat you to your own doorstep. So the convenience of e-commerce is tremendous. So that's where a lot of our business is, and that's where the future is kind of being written. And now with AI and the internet and the way we can search things and educate ourselves, a lot of that is being done. It's kind of sad in a way because, I'm an old school guy. I like the connection. We were talking about Italy and people connecting in piazzas. I still like to go to a health food store because you connect with real people and you can get advice. And there's no critical thinking with AI,
But I'm going to say something here, Max, if I can. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, we need the health food stores, absolutely. But also, we're in the business for the consumer. And I want to get the best product that I think in the hands of the consumer to make that choice, do I buy it or don't buy it. Some of the best ingredients, best science never gets to the consumer because they don't fit in the box system of the retail. By the time they make their margin, everybody else makes their margin, the product's too expensive. And the consumer never sees it. And I've seen that throughout my career here. And that's why I love the e-commerce, because it's up to the consumer to decide whether they want to buy it or not based upon the science and the story behind that particular brand. And so your e-commerce is a good thing, I believe, because it's giving the consumer the choices to make. And who knows, maybe it brings down some of the pricing too for the consumers, for those who can't really afford it, and now they can. So we're saving lives at the same time.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you, Stephen. No, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's important for your position because you're going to pick and choose which ingredients you're going to use. Backed by science, supported by efficacy, safety, purity, authenticity out there. And I think that's, you're now, just quickly, Growve is managing, you said, 16 brands? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
At this point? Okay. Are those e-commerce brands?
A majority of them are. There are some that are not e-commerce first, like Sun Warrior, that are found in health food stores, but a majority of the brands like Nature's Craft and Mav Nutrition and Nobi are primarily e-commerce. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. And so basically, these are companies that you've acquired or Grove's acquired over the years, I would imagine. All right, they were built up by other people, and these brands then were acquired. These are not startup brands, are they?
No, they were acquired. There are a few brands that Grove started. There's one, it's a franchise most of you have heard of, called Smurfs. We've seen a little blue cartoon called the Smurfs, and they partnered with the franchise holder of Smurfs, and they created some gummies for children, and that was a novelty that Grove did. There was another gummy line called Fruly that was fruit-based gummies that were healthier alternatives. And so Grove has pioneered some brands, but most of the business is from acquired business.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. Well, you're going to take that company to a higher level of success. It's a great business model that they have, over there. But Max, more importantly, you were hired because I consider you, like on this show, a legend, an icon, a leader. Right? What qualities you've seen people come and go in your business career? What qualities do you think make a great leader today?
Thank you for saying that. I don't think I'm a legend. I think I'm just trying to do what I love to do. And, when you do what I think are good things for people, then, the results speak for themselves. But a leader that's a servant leader is what I really prize. Somebody who is willing to do the work they're asking others to do. They can roll up their sleeves and serve their employees. People that don't think they're better than others, that hire people that are smarter than themselves to help them make better decisions. A lot of people in leadership roles have egos, and they don't want to hire strong subordinates because then they might be challenged. I'm the opposite of that. I want to hire people that will challenge me, always respectfully, of course, but let's get in the room and talk and figure out how can we create the best product for the consumer. If it's just me sitting alone doing it, it's not going to work out. I've got to talk to other people, and especially with e-commerce, there's certain search terms that people look for, and you want your product to be identified. And so we got to find what those search terms are and put those ingredients in the product, So, there's this, I've told my people before the dolphin analogy. I was at SeaWorld when I had little kids many years ago, and we did this little experience with dolphins where the trainers come and they show you how they train the dolphins. Well, the dolphins, they know at the end of the day they're going to get fish. They're going to get fed no matter what they do. If they're just swimming in the pool or if they're doing tricks, they're going to get fed. And that's like an employee. They know they're going to get paid. But the dolphins that do the tricks, that do the flips, that obey the leaders, their trainers, are the ones that get direction, they get whistled, and they have hand motions, and they get special treats for doing those behaviors. So as a leader, are you giving the direction? Are you giving the rub down, the pat down, the good job, the attaboy to your employees? Because they need that desperately. Getting a paycheck at the end of the day is important. We need to feed our families. But what really makes the difference as a leader is when you give the direction, you recognize success, and you continue to build your team and to give them opportunity to grow.
Yeah, I think that giving people the opportunity, giving them the self-confidence too when you allow that. Right? I would say that self-confidence is so important, and when you are giving people the space to grow, because I think everybody offers something special and they're gifted and talented in unique ways, and you create a culture or an environment that invites people to challenge you, or invites people to take you out of your comfort zone so you can learn more. But I think you hit the nail on the head. You want to be with people that that you can learn from and grow with. I'm not going to say Grove with, but grow with. Okay, all right. So I truly believe that as a leader, you sit back as an orchestra conductor some days and just feel like I want to make everybody work together as a team to play this beautiful symphony of music, right? And to get everybody to the same note where everybody's in harmony, working together. And so I love your dolphin approach.
Thank you. At Grove, we want people to own their area of responsibility, like really have ownership in it. If this was your business, how would you treat it? And then when you own it, you're empowered to do something. You're not just waiting for someone to tell you what to do, but it's all up to you. If this succeeds, it's because I put in the effort. If it fails, it's because or maybe, you fail, you learn. Okay, let's keep going. I never discipline or criticize anyone for failing. What I do discipline people on is when they fail and then they don't get back up and keep going. Because there was a wise person, I think it's owed to Churchill, this saying that success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. So you've got to keep that enthusiasm. You're going to trip, you're going to learn lessons, but then grow from that, right? And then you're able to improve that area of sphere that you're asked to do. And then if a promotion comes up, guess what? You're in line for consideration. But if you just think small and, okay, I'm just doing this job and I'm not going to think bigger or care, you're never going to get opportunities. And so I just encourage people that are listening, if you're still working or wherever you are in life, stay inquisitive, stay hungry. Keep pushing yourself to grow and to learn things, and you'll be happier and healthier as a result.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's great advice. Peter, let's break for commercial, and then Max, maybe we could talk about the importance of mentorship when we come back after the commercial break.
There we go. Okay, perfect. We're going to take a commercial from Step Change Innovations. Step Change Innovations is the company. StepChangeGo.com is the website. Here we go.
Here's a word from our sponsor, Step Change Innovations. Selling science-backed ingredients is tough. No one understands that better than industry veteran Joe Bradley. For over 20 years, Joe has blazed trails in selling science-backed ingredients into emerging markets. He's seen the challenges firsthand, the long sales cycles, the regulatory maze, and the struggle to turn groundbreaking science into retail success. That's why he dedicated his career to overcoming these hurdles. At Step Change Innovations, we're on a mission to make that journey easier for you. Whether you need expert regulatory guidance, a launch strategy that transforms your ingredient into a premium consumer product, or an outsourced sales program that fills your pipeline with quality leads, we've got you covered. Imagine your innovative ingredient not just as an idea, but as a proven, market-ready product displayed on shelves, building trust with every customer, and driving real sales. With our deep industry expertise and a robust network of suppliers, retailers, and co-manufacturers, we turn challenges into opportunities and accelerate your path to market. If selling your science-backed ingredient feels like an uphill battle, let's change that. Schedule a conversation with Joe Bradley to talk through your sales challenges and brainstorm ways to overcome them. Whether it's refining your strategy, securing retail placement, or building a sales pipeline that actually delivers, we're here to help. Visit StepChangeGo.com to connect today and take the first step toward getting your ingredient on shelves faster and easier. At KISC My Health Radio, we say thank you to Step Change Innovations for being the sponsor of this podcast. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
Perfect. So, Stephen Lukawski, let's kick it off again. And thanks so much. This has been really wonderful as far as a really diverse, if you will, interview with stuff from his personal background as well as his business background that a lot of people find is very informative. Thank you so much.
And no, it's Max. You're gifted. You're blessed with this opportunity at Growve to really take yourself maybe a little bit out of your own comfort zone, right? And to be with the younger generations of that I feel are much smarter than I am, and because their whole mindset's much different, and especially with AI and technology today. But I look at mentorship as an important part of my success story. How important has mentorship been for you as climbing the ladder in life, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, it's always important. But, if we wait for people to mentor us, we are going to wait a while. So we have to be proactive. We have to seek out people that we want to learn from and fearlessly approach them and say, help me. How can I be better at public speaking? I see that you're really good at it. You capture an audience. Or, how do you balance your work-life schedule? And you seem to get so much done. So I think it's important to keep our eyes open and to approach people and ask them for help. And then it's our responsibility to look for people that we can help along the way and grab someone's hand, because not everybody is proactive and they need mentors. They need leaders that care about them. So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah. I look at when I first got into this business in the 1990s that I didn't know anybody. And so I felt like, okay, if I'm going to learn, I want to learn from someone who's successful, someone who's been in the industry. And you're right, I was proactive at that time. I went to that person, and he was the president of the Canadian Health Food Association at that time, Willie Pelzer. God bless his soul. And Willie, I said, I'm here in the industry. I'm wanting to meet people. I want to learn. I want to be a successful, in this industry like you. How can I get there? And he just opened up his arms. His front door office was always open. And he says, you come and I'll show you. I'll show you what's needed. Right? And he says, you start working here with me. Right? And he brought me into his office. He introduced me to how they manufacture granola bars and the sports nutrition world. And he was a pioneer that came from Germany at that time. And he moved to Saskatchewan from Germany. Went through the war at that time, but he saw how the horses were, so healthy, oats, and he turned that into medicine for, in the food world for nutrition bars, and he started we started an idea. He took an idea and turned it into something, and that's what motivated me. That if he can do something with an idea, then how about me? Why can't I? And I think you're right. If we look for people that we can learn from and grow with, I think it's so important in advancing your career at an early age. And I never knew I had any answers. I just had a lot of questions. And I think asking the right questions is so important at a younger age out there. So for the listeners who are in this business and they're still in the first couple of years, what advice and guidance do you have for them?
Well, listeners that are working in the dietary supplement business, I would say keep educating yourself and stay inquisitive and find your passion, whatever that is. Find the thing that gets you up in the morning and goes, I am so lucky I get to do this, and sometimes it's hard to find that thing, but you have to start somewhere, and you'll stumble across it sometimes, or look for people that are the example of what you want to be and talk to them. Ask them, how did you get where you are today? They're more than willing to share with you their experiences. For me, I got into the industry like you. I had very little understanding of natural medicine. So what did I start with? I read a book called The Vitamin E Factor from Andreas Pappas, and I have it to this day, and I eventually met him at a trade show and had him sign it. I wanted to learn everything about vitamin E. And every week, I would dig deep into every vitamin. Okay, now I know vitamin E. Now I want to learn about vitamin A. What's the difference between retinol palmitate and beta-carotene? Okay, I got that. How many B vitamins are there? What's the difference between B12 and B6 and B1, and how do they all function? Okay, I got that. Now vitamin C. And if you do that, now I've learned the vitamins. I'm formulating with them. Now let's go learn some herbs and some fruits and some enzymes. And it's a lifelong process, but are you going to fill your lamp with knowledge and information, or are we going to fill our lamp with video games and sports? We all need distractions, and we want to have some fun. But if you can make learning fun, that's me. When I would go on vacation, I would take a hormone book and just learn about what's the difference between the three estrogens and how do they work with progesterone and what happens to a woman's body when she goes through perimenopause. Here's this 35-year-old guy sitting in Cancun on the beach reading Suzanne Summers' book, The Sexy Years. Like, what's wrong with him? But that's it. Like, if you find the passion in it and you're hungry for knowledge, you're going to, learn. And then I was lucky enough I was running the Solaray brand for 18 years. So with that knowledge, I could come out and go, okay, I'm going to create a product that is the coolest vitamin E. It's going to have every vitamin of alpha and beta and delta and gamma tocopherol and tocotrienols. And I created this product. It was $38. And guess what, Stephen? Nobody bought it because nobody wants to spend $38 on vitamin E. So, we got to also be careful. Don't over-formulate or over-engineer things that people don't want to buy or use. So you have to get very smart on how to give them what they want at the right price.
Well, I agree with that, but not everyone's going to be your customer either, too, right? So I always believe that starting out in this industry, you have to build a personal brand. You really need to get out there and meet people, and get your name out there. Show people who you are, what you do, and because it's a small industry, if you're not happy where you are, you may end up somewhere else, right? But because people move around in our industry quite a bit. But how important is networking and getting out there and going to these trade shows when you are at the early stage of our industry?
It's critical. Yes, exactly what you said. Get to know people. Get to know as many people as you can, and make friends. And I was very fortunate again to having worked at Solaray. It was a well-known retail brand, and a lot of people would come to me and say, "Oh, you're the head of Solaray. Hey, I've got this new whatever. Will you look at our science?" And so I was fortunate, and to this day, I've maintained a spreadsheet of every supplier, every ingredient they've ever presented to me. And I can always look back and go, oh, I want to find dihydroberberine. I wonder who sells that. Do a search. Oh, there they are. Or who has the coolest cranberry? Is it researched? Because there's a lot of junk out there that's adulterated, as you well know. And so, getting to the shows, whether it's supply side, if you're a formulator, that's critical. If you're, anyone in brands or, Expo West, of course. Back in the day, we had the NNFA show, of course, and these shows merge and they come and go. Expo East is pretty much done, and now there's this Newtopia Next or whatever they call it in Denver. And so, yes, get to the shows. Travel internationally. I was at the World Health Expo in Dubai. You see different things when you're in different countries. Or Barcelona with VitaFoods. I was at the very first VitaFoods in India in 2023 when they launched it in Delhi. And so it's important to get out there and see what there is.
Yeah, and how important is it for companies and younger people within those companies to get out there and join organizations within our industry?
That's a good question. I think you can join too many organizations and it can become a distraction. In our supplement industry, we have APA, we have CRN, we have NPA. There's so many different organizations in the industry, and they all serve a different purpose. ABC, American Botanical Council, they're really good at educating. CRN is really good at advocating and protecting our access to supplements. Same with the American Herbal Products Association. So, and I've served on the board of APA recently, and you learn from all of the great people that are part of these associations, but you can also overdo it. So if, you got to balance your day and your schedule for sure.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree, because these, women in nutraceuticals, for example, I love that for women in leadership roles. I truly believe that the American Botanical Council and for the defending against the adulteration, the bad actors in the industry, there's so many good organizations out there that you can grow with and to become a better company and a better person for that. But I also think too that I look at our industry and I look at the younger people now are our future, and I still want the younger people to realize how important it is to look in front of them and why they have a career. right? Why they're the next generation that's going to take this industry to a higher level of success. But the people in front of them, I don't want to miss out on these, on the leaders, I call legacy leaders that have paved the way for us to be able to have successful careers. And I think I personally think that we need to recognize the people that have made those sacrifices and gone that extra mile and really have opened doors for you and me and for us, for others, to be able to take this industry to a higher level of credibility and trustworthiness with the consumer. Because I think that's the biggest concern I have. How can we grow integrity and the trust with the consumer? That the supplement industry is full of good people, credibility. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. When I was in India recently, I was on a trip with Roy Upton, and he's one of the industry legends, no doubt about it. And he's trying to get young people involved more because he sees these old guys and women that are more of a dying breed, and he's very concerned. And so he reached out to me, and we've been, working on several things together. And it's I'm in my low 50s now. We need to now reach down into the, people in their 20s and 30s. They're mostly driving e-commerce businesses, and they're chasing algorithms and what's the next Amazon, algorithm that helps me win. And they may not know anything about supplements, but they know how to sell a product. So we can learn from them, but we also have to teach them that there's no, quick way. You still have to. I'm Gen X, and I think you're a baby boomer, so we roll up our sleeves, we get to work. And I worry about the new generations and their work ethic. It seems like we've done them a disservice, and I still maintain hope, but everyone needs to work. There's no shortcut.
No, all right. So I'm glad you're saying there is no shortcut. There is no silver spoon ride. I'll say that much. But you look back, we talked about your best years are still ahead of you. What are you the most proudest? What was your most proudest accomplishment when it comes to your mind right now? That you would look back and say, "Wow, I'm so proud of this moment."
It's my 4 children and my family for sure, and the way they've turned out. I'm very lucky. I scored big time in the kid department. Professionally, I look back at my little babies that I've created, all the supplements that are in stores and online all over the world, and it always touches me and humbles me whenever I see a cute little old lady walk in and grab my product off the shelf and take it to the register and buy it. And I think, if she knew that this idiot was behind that, would she really buy it,
I know. Think about that. I think it's great because they don't know the hard work and effort it took to get that product on the shelf. No idea.
No, absolutely not. And I've had a lot of failures and I've had a lot of successes, and each one of those have taught me a lot. And I've learned that I can't be afraid to fail. I've got to try things. If you want to be an innovator and blaze trails, you might fall in a pit as you're walking through the jungle, or you might stumble across a treasure. But are you brave enough to do it? And I was the first to launch a liposomal multivitamin. I had a lot of success with vitamin C as a liposome, and I thought, well, why not do it in a multivitamin? I know B vitamins are also hard to absorb and other nutrients, and we did a clinical study, and I have a patent pending on that, and it didn't sell very well at the beginning. In fact, it launched right as the pandemic happened, and everybody was looking for, vitamin C and zinc and not really caring about multivitamins. And here we come out with a $50 multi in Solaray. But now today it's doing very well, and it's selling like hotcakes, especially in the Middle East. And people that want an efficacious product are always going to look for innovation around technologies. And I think liposomes are one of those things that have been interesting to look at.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. timing is everything, I think, when it comes to certain product, with innovation. But if you don't innovate, you're dead. I really believe that. And there's different delivery systems, different technologies. We're still in the cutting edge of our industry when it comes to delivering. I would say less is more. If we can deliver more of the actives and get through the stomach, and into the lower intestine or to the colon, we can deliver more of the biomolecules. Right, that is a good thing, because there's so much out there that gets degraded, and before it gets released to.
If I can, Stephen, a great example of what you're saying, sorry to interrupt you, is like probiotics. Probiotics are bacteria that, when exposed to temperature or stomach acid or a lot of moisture, they degrade quickly. And I've launched a lot of probiotics in our space, and I care about efficacy. And so I put them in this pre-enteric-coated capsule to get it past the stomach acid into the colon and the upper intestine, the small intestine, where it can colonize and actually provide a benefit. And you look at many probiotics, they just use regular veg caps, or, they put them in gummies where there's zero protection. And you wonder, is that formulator really understanding what they're doing? How are people getting a benefit of it if it's not alive? Now, there are also dead bacteria that provide an immune response. We know that. But anyway, yes, giving people products that work has always been my number one job.
Yeah, and also products that are authenticated, that 100% what's on the labels and the bottle, right? Purity, and safety. I look at, can we do a better job in that space? And of course we can. Because sometimes the lowest priced ingredients are not the highest quality out there. And but we have analytical equipment. We can test for purity and identification and authenticity, right? So I just think we can do a better job when it comes to finding using the right test methods or the right analytical equipment, or just protecting the health and safety of the consumer, and by delivering the efficacy that you're talking about. So I have a couple more questions. At the end, you look back at your youthful age, say at 20. What would you tell yourself, then, knowing what you know today, at the age of 18, 20 years of age?
Don't be afraid of doing hard things. We generally, as humans, like to avoid hard things, but it's those hard things that give us grit and teach us what we need to learn. And so facing challenges and not being afraid to fail is another big one. I think nobody likes to be looked at as a failure, and we need to take calculated risks in life and measured risks. But when we're young, fail all you can, because that's what's going to teach you, and you'll be better in the long run because of it. That would be my biggest advice to myself.
Yeah, we're saying is don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's the only way you're going to learn. And I always say mistakes are stepping stones for it's always set up for bigger things to happen in your life, and or even when you face adversity, and you fail to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and start again. It's because this is not how your story is going to end. This is just part of your life journey, and you've shown that in so many ways. What you've accomplished. Looking back, I know we talked about this, but you're going to take Growve to a higher level of success. But, legacy-wise, you may not consider yourself a legend, but, the Michael McGuffins have left us. The James Gormleys have left us. And, at the end, is there something you want people to remember who Max Willis was, or what he represented in our industry that you like to share?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I hope people remember me as somebody who loved people, cared for their success more than a business transaction, and I really loved innovation in this space. And if I can leave a few little, thumbprints in the industry, it would be that, oh yeah, Max was the first to do this liposomal multivitamin, or this new probiotic line with this enteric shield product, or I love taking retailers on herb walks when they visit Utah. Take them into the mountains, show them the plants, let them taste roots and leaves that are edible, and educate them. So I hope I'm remembered as an educator and somebody that was really passionate about what he did.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful, and like I said, you're moving forward, and you're going to be, your footprints in the sand are something new now for Growve, and you're going to take all that knowledge and all the people that you worked with over there at Solar Ray Nutraceutical Group, your corp. You're going to take that company to a greater success story out there, and I'm so glad that your products will get to the market, and that you're innovating, and you're going to be going out there, and you are going to be carrying a torch that lights up this industry with greater efficacy, safety, and purity on the products you guys develop. So congratulations on that. Job well done, Max.
Thank you. That means a lot, and it's not just me, right? And I know this is cliche, but there's no I in team. We have to all surround ourselves with people that we trust, that are professional, that care about what they do. And we've seen so many of our companies in this industry be gobbled up by CPG companies, and they kind of lose their soul. And I never want to be that. I want to be quick and scrappy and get good products out to the market, and I've seen it change people's lives. I think that's the most rewarding thing, is when you get letters about from real people that you've helped them avoid more medications and live a healthier and long life. I think we've been given a privilege and an honor to be able to go out there and do what we do today. It's not a job, right? It's not an expectation, but it's a opportunity to help people live longer and healthier. What a gift from above. It's a beautiful blessing that we have. Mm-hmm. So, Peter, any last questions for Max?
No, but my first question would be, when can we have him back, number one? He's got a great way of explaining things. And I really appreciate the way that you explain a lot of the stuff, because you say it in a way that people can understand and follow through. So it would be great to have him back talking about some of the things that he's referencing as far as the products that he's made, the history of the industry, all that sort of stuff. He's got a lot of information to be able to share. So I appreciate his personal stuff and business stuff as well. Good stuff. All really great stuff. And we have so many other things we could talk about. But I want to thank Max Willis for being here on the KISC My Health Radio Show. So, Stephen, back to you.
Thank you, Max. And I know that like I said, you were going to go out there, and you're that North Star in our industry. You're going to lead the younger generation, and in the world of e-commerce especially. And I can't wait to watch the next several years of your life and how that evolves into something even greater than what you've already accomplished. So thank you for joining the KISC radio show today. And for our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to hear Max's journey as he shares his success story with us. And please remember, we all can make a difference in this world. You don't need it. We're all legendary heroes in a sense, because you have a life that's been given to you, and it's a gift. Just go out there and make a difference, and it all starts by being kind to others. Thank you to all those on KISC My Health Radio today for joining us.
Perfect. We're going to catch everybody next time.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. This KISC My Health Radio Show is brought to you by Stephen Lukawski. Stephen is known as the Cranberry King, universally known as Captain Cran Man. Stephen has over 30 years of experience working with manufacturers and marketers of dietary supplements and natural ingredients to make this world a healthier and a better place. You can check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the KISCMyHealth.com website. We are glad you listened in. Spread the word, and check out previous KISC My Health radio episodes. Bye for now. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. Now go make the world a better place.